Good evening, everybody, and we interrupt your regularly scheduled Saturday program for this important announcement. Brody and J-man are here to talk sports.
What's going on, everybody? It's sports time.
Yeah, it is not only sports time, good sir, it is CrunchTime Sports. And we're here to cover all things happening this week in sports. How many times, J-man, do you think we will say sports today?
Quite a bit, I'm sure. And if you haven't noticed that we are simulcasting on both channels, so this is my first live show for mine.
Yeah. So we have officially popped your cherry. Boo to you too, Casey. Oh, and J-man, if you do want to show the comments, you can just click on them.
Gotcha.
And they show. So yeah, we're here to cover some of the big things happening in sports this week. You'll see in the title that we'll get into the Leafs. We'll also talk about LeBron losing in the first round, and does it affect his legacy? I love how much this talked over the last couple days on all the sports channels. All the talking heads are talking about legacy. We'll get into that. We'll also get into Bottlegate, Spitgate, Popcorn Gate, whatever you want to call it. NBA fans are losing their minds. And we'll also talk about the Floyd Mayweather, whatever the hell Paul is fighting tomorrow. I can never keep track of which brother's doing what.
Logan.
So we'll get into that and all the tomfoolery that is that. But I guess, yeah, so I'll get into it quick for the new people. I started this show up on my own a month ago, and decided talking by myself for an hour sucks. It's hard to talk for an hour straight. So I reached out to J-man as we do the Derail News and Podcast show. Try to go every Sunday. For those of you who don't know, click like and subscribe and hit the bell there and dingle Drew's nuts. So you know when he's live, but we like talking about sports on there, and some of the other people on there get bored when sports happen. So I figured we will have this place to air our grievances, if you will. This is our Festivus of the week.
Although, to be honest with you, I think my show actually was pretty good as far as my choice of topics. And we had the chat going with the dynasties. So,
yes, it was insightful. That gentleman that hopped on happened to be from the town that we were talking about all the murders was quite awesome too. And my former co-host, always with the love for whoever's on the show aside from myself. So I don't know, good sir, where do you want to start this?
Let's go ahead and start with the hockey, the playoffs, and the love for your Leafs, and of course my Penguins.
I am a former Leafs fan, I'll have you know. I am now the biggest crackhead that you'll ever meet, folks. I am officially a crackhead, and no, I'm not smoking rocks. I'm a Seattle Kraken fan because, luckily, I've only been in one serious relationship in my life, and I happen to marry and love the woman very much. So, and I guess I'll pull up my Facebook here quick while I do this. So if anyone's commenting on Facebook, for some reason it's not showing up the comments. So I'll just pull them up here so I can watch along. But some people, I have been told, when you're in a toxic relationship, eventually you just have to end said relationship. You may love the person very much in the relationship, but you just realize that as much as you love that person or the Leafs, they may or may not love you back. Sometimes for your mental health, your clarity, you just need to say, you know what? I wish you all the best on your merry way. I hope you find true happiness. But for me to be happy, I cannot do this anymore. And when the thing about being a Leafs fan is every Leafs fan I knew after they lost in overtime to Montreal in Game 6, it was like, well, we might as well not even watch Game 7. We already know the inevitable. They're going to lose. And when they lost in the past, there was anger, there was rage. And when they lost this time, I was just like, they lost. And when you feel indifferent to me, when you feel indifferent to your team losing, maybe that's time to to call her quits because I couldn't do it anymore. I was just so, and unlike you and your goddamn Penguins who happen to fucking win all the time.
Win all the time? Seriously? Between the 91, 92 teams and then 2008, they were shit.
Oh, ooh, 27 years between cups.
Hey.
In my entire life, I've seen this was actually 4 good Leafs teams, and they stink, and they haven't won a cup in 54 years. They've officially, they did something. They officially passed the Rangers for the longest goddamn Stanley Cup drought.
But you can't drop your fandom over that. I mean, I've got a friend of mine who's also a truck driver as myself, and he's a Detroit Lions fan. They've never won a Super Bowl because they've never even been to one. Their last championship was in the 50s.
Well, I know. And who knows? It's a long time till puck drop. But I feel like if you jump off a team's bandwagon, if I would have just done it last year, well, then it's like, yeah, bandwagon jumper, blobbity blob, this, that, and the other thing. But I feel like if you do it during expansion, then there's like a pass because somebody's got to cheer for the new team. I don't think there's going to be enough fans in just Seattle to create a good fan base. Somebody's got to cheer for the Kraken. And actually, when they came up with the name Seattle Kraken, originally I actually really liked it. It's like, I actually like that name. And the logo's cool. And yeah, I may have been dramatic with the throwing of the t-shirts in the garbage, as those of you who know me personally seen on Facebook. It killed me because the 2 Leaf shirts that I happened to be up here happened to be Wendell Clark and Doug Gilmour, so that hurt. No, it couldn't have been any of the current players. No, it had to be the guys from my childhood. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's a long time till puck drop. I'll probably change my opinion, but I'm just when you know the team is just gonna, and they lose in spectacular fashion. If it would have been like Pittsburgh that lost, no, they lost in 5 or 6. But if it would have been like St. Louis that got swept or get beaten in 5, but no, yeah, you lose the first game. Your captain gets knocked out on a brutal accidental play, but it was brutal to watch. I don't know if you've seen that, but he got checked, and then as he was falling, another guy happened to be skating by, and he tried to jump over him, and he drove his knee right into the back of his head. And then he's laying on the ice, and then he tries to sit up, and he goes from laying on the ice, and he sits up, and then you see the look, and he just boom, he just falls backwards. Like, ooh, that was tough to watch.
It was 5 more minutes, Daddy. 5 more minutes.
so they watch that, or so they lose that game, which is fine. It is what it is. But then they win 3 in a row, including Game 4, which is I watched. I would say 95% of the minutes of hockey the Leafs played this season, and that was the best game they've played all year. They shut them out. They're up 3-1, and then typical Leaf fashion, we can't just lose. No, we got to lose in spectacular fashion. Blow a 3-1 series lead, including 2 games in overtime where they tied them in the third period and still lost. And then Game 7, they were just flat, played the worst game of their year. And I'm just like, I can't do this crap anymore. It's killing me. It's absolutely killing me.
Like I said, I mean, you got, like, even here in Kansas City where I'm from, I mean, there were Chiefs fans that grew up never knowing what a Super Bowl looks like until these last 2 seasons. You know, they got remember the 90s? They were the 3rd best team when it came to wins in the 90s, behind only the 49ers and Buffalo. They get to the playoffs and they lose the first game every single year after Montana left. So you can't give up on it, just because of they're going on a drought. I mean,
a drought.
Hey, it's been over 25 years for my team as well to win the Super Bowl.
The last time the Leafs won a cup, there were 6 teams. Since the league expanded, they haven't won one. And it compounded. It came down to a decision for me. Because the other team I die hard cheer for also sets you up for high expectations and fucking cuts your heart out every single goddamn year. And I had to go, well, I can't do this. I can't be a Leafs fan and a Cowboys fan. I'm going to end up having a freaking heart attack at 35. But since I've got the star tattooed on my leg, it made the decision kind of easy, unless I end up getting old Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes and end up getting him pissing on the Cowboys logo, which might still happen. I don't know. But
hell, be a Jayhawk football fan. Come on.
I didn't even know Kansas had a football team.
Well, I mean, the 08 Orange Bowl, that's the last big team we had, but, you know.
Try being a USC football fan. They were great when I was a teenager, and then, just because we have a couple recruiting violations, which everybody does anyway, then they just take away everything, and the team's been in purgatory ever since.
Well, we're kind of under review right now. Who knows what's going to happen from that?
I accept that challenge. Guys, if you're watching on J-Man's show or you're watching on Facebook or whatever, just search CrunchTime Sports here on the YouTube, find ours. There's a couple of them, and hit the sub button. Really helps us out. Make sure you hit the like button on whatever channel you're liking and share it and all that jibber jabber that we're contractually obligated to do by YouTube.
Oh, and don't forget, you can, if you're watching on CrunchTime Sports,
and vice versa. Yeah, vice versa. J-Man on his channel he does rants from the road because I guess there's a few people watching on Crunch Time. Before we get into our next topic, again, folks, if I don't 100, I'm never going to just not cheer for the Leafs. They might become my second team, if you will, because I'm going to watch Seattle more. And I swear they're like a toxic relationship team, and I love the team too much not to cheer for said team. So we'll see what happens. And that's way too much airtime for Casey on this show. So what's your latest rant from the road? I guess that'll get us right into our next subject. What chapped your ass this week that you had to rant about it on the road?
Well, and I normally don't touch the NBA because I really can't stand it. I don't follow any team in the NBA. I could tell you in my entire 45 years of living, I have yet to watch an entire NBA game from start to finish, ever. Not even back in the Jordan era, none. I'm more of a college basketball fan because I prefer the team aspect than the one guy. But this thing happened Sunday night. Kyrie Irving got hit in the head with a water bottle, a plastic water bottle, mind you, by Cole Buckley from Braintree, Massachusetts. And they charged him with a felony, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. A plastic fucking water bottle. Are you fucking kidding me? A felony. Don't get me wrong. And I missed this in my video, but I don't condone throwing objects, anything, at players in any sport. But, I could see where he should be a lifetime ban, but to give him a felony? I mean, are they just making an example out of this guy so they can hopefully prevent it in the future? I don't know, but
I think maybe that's what they're going for, because that might have been the third or fourth one, and it went on a string last week in like consecutive nights, and I might get the order wrong. And Chris, once I finish this, I'll get into that, because I think that is far too many teams. One, maybe two at the most. Like in baseball, I say you can have two teams because there's two different leagues. There's the American League and the National League. I have an American League and a National League team. Football, maybe if you want to, but one in every division. Now you're hedging your bets. And fuck the Bruins. So definitely don't cheer for the Bruins. But I can't remember the exact order, but within a matter of 3 or 4 days, we had in New York, Trae Young's parents got harassed, I believe it was. Then one player got spit on, which I am 100%. If any person in this whole thing is going to get charged with a felony or charged at all, it should be the motherfucker that spit on somebody. You can't, first of all, what's wrong with you that you're spitting on people? Like, that's absolutely disgusting. And then you think just because you paid your ticket, so there's that. The least minor one is the dummy that poured popcorn on Russell Westbrook. Again, that's probably a ban for life. The hell you do it? Can't, if I came in, that's the funny thing. if Russell Westbrook came into your restaurant and ordered a thing, say you own a restaurant, and he just moseyed on in, ordered a Big Mac and fries, and then just took the fries and dumped them on your head. I bet you that you wouldn't like that. So no, you can't do that. But it just happened, and I guess maybe the Boston police are just like, or the NBA got in touch, and they're like, this is getting out of control. I feel like they're going to get charged. He got charged with a felony, but the district attorneys and everything are not going to prosecute it or anything. It's just going to make a plea deal for a misdemeanor. But it gets out in the news that, whoa, he got charged with a felony as a, holy shit, maybe the dumb idiots are going to be like, okay, we're not going to do any of this stuff anymore, is what I think happened. But people, it doesn't matter to me. You paid your money, sit in your damn seat, yell, boo if you want to, obviously, but don't touch the players, because we all know what happened in the past. And I don't want to see, as a kid, I thought it was hilarious, but now that I'm in my 30s, I don't want to see that shit. I don't want to see Ron Artest in the stands. I don't want to see the players fighting with fans in the stands. We don't need that.
I actually, it's funny because I actually can remember when I was in my teenage years in high school, I went with a friend of mine. We went to WCW event. This is prior to the Monday Night Wars, mind you. So this is WCW before the Monday Night Wars. And Stunning Steve Austin was wrestling. And of course, he was a bad guy then. This is, of course, not Stone Cold, but before. He's being helped back by his manager, and today I can't remember who his manager was at the time.
Colonel Parker, wasn't it?
Maybe, I can't remember, but they're kind of helping him walk to the back, and we were right on the aisleway. And I reached over with my hat and just kind of flicked him in top of the head with my hat as he's walking by. So it's like back then, yeah, funny. Now I wouldn't recommend it. As far as anything, whether you're touching them to give them a good attaboy, whatever, none of that. I mean, you don't need to touch them, And Skywalker says Paulie dangerously. I think
it could have been
probably right.
It's Stunning. I don't know, because wasn't Colonel Parker their manager when they were the Hollywood Blah? I can't remember, but yeah. I mean, the best thing to me, if you want to touch the athletes in any way, stick out your hand, and if they high five your hand back, well, then you just stuck it out there. They didn't touch you. Or you didn't touch them, they touched you. But to throw shit at them and spit, like that's what had me a little worried, because the players were basically tweeting too. It's like, okay, if the league and something's not going to do anything about it, we're going to do something about it ourselves. And just go back and watch that Malice in the Palace from back in the day. It's not a pretty sight when you've got NBA players 12 rows in the stands and fist fights with the fans. No.
Well, it's funny because this started a long time ago. I mean, you go back even to WCW during the Nitro and everything, or during the the NWO days. Eric Bischoff has gone on record stating they used to the fans would throw D batteries at them as
they had
coming into the ring.
Crazy heat, but they're shit. Well, again, when I was younger, I thought it was hilarious. Now, not so much. But there was a Bruins-Rangers game from the 1970s where the Bruins had enough, and Mike Milbury's in the stands. It might be at the Boston Garden or it's Madison Square Garden, one of the two. But he is beating a fan with his own shoe. Now, it's a funny visual, but looking back, it's like, Jesus. Like, if he did that nowadays, you're never playing in the league again. And nor should you. If you're in the stands beating a fan with a shoe, no. You're not playing hockey anymore. That's absurd. You can't go into where they go, and they should. That's the thing, people. Unless you want the players to come into where you are, stay the hell out of where they are. You stay in your area, you watch the game, you cheer, you don't come on the court, you don't come on the ice, you don't come on the field, and they won't come in the stands. Because that's what's hilarious. Some people think because they paid a ticket, they can do whatever they want to the players, and they can't do anything back to me. Well, I'm sorry, but you may think you're tough, but some of these basketball players even LeBron James might not be the toughest guy, but I really wouldn't want to get in a fight with a guy that's, 6'8", 260 pounds, because if he puts his weight behind his punch, it's probably going to hurt just by sheer science of torque and weight, and he's going to knock you the fuck out.
I mean, honestly, I only know of really a couple of instances where fans are it's requested to throw things, and it's really hockey. You throw your hat out there when somebody gets a hat trick, or like in Detroit, they throw the squids out on the ice. But I mean, other than that, really, are there any other acceptable times to throw something on the field anywhere?
Well, if you're at a junior hockey game during teddy bear toss, but that's all for all those teddy bears go to the children's hospital, so that's acceptable. But yeah, it's just you can't throw stuff, and you can definitely. I mean, if you think that spitting on a player is okay, maybe you should go seek some help. If you're that angry at something that you're gonna spit on someone, you should talk to somebody about that.
Not only that, but hello, pandemic. We just went through a fucking pandemic, and you're gonna spit on somebody? What the fuck? Not that I condone. Not that I call it a pandemic, but yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, come on, and I never bought into that narrative that some people were pushing, that it's like, see, it's just all these people that have been locked up for so long, they're just crazy. It's like, no. There were I think at each night there were at least 10,000 people in all those arenas, and one jag-off at each one decided to be fucking stupid. And I can tell you this right now, that same jag-off that did that shit, it doesn't matter if he was in there May 28th, 2018, he's probably still going to do something stupid. Mm-hmm. It's not because of the freaking lockdown and being stuck in your house. That has nothing to do. Why didn't 10,000 people then start throwing stuff? That was stupid to me.
It just goes back to what I've been saying all this time. We have a parent problem. We have a parenting problem. We really do. Honestly, we weren't raised to throw shit at people, on players. And I'm not saying that their parents raised them to do it, but they certainly didn't raise them to tell them not to do it either.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, I like to quote A League of Their Own. I use the quote all the time. Use your head. It's that thing 3 feet above your ass.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Like, God bless Jimmy Dugan or whatever.
Yeah,
Jimmy
it was
Duncan
it was Dugan. Yeah, it was Dugan. There's no crying in baseball.
I like that one, but I just every time I hear use your head, oh, that's the thing 3 feet above your ass, that freaking kills me. I love that expression. So yeah, to put a bow on it for myself, and then you can give your final thoughts. Just keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, and don't throw shit, really.
Unless you're actually playing the game where you're throwing a pass or, again, a hat trick or stuff like that. Nice one, Chris.
So let's get into this flop. And
hashtag
LaFlop, and of course the legacy thing. Yeah, I'm with you on that. The really tarnishes legacy because it's the first time in the 18 years he's been in the NBA that he didn't win in the first round. Oh no, he's only been to 11 NBA finals.
Yeah, which I sit back and think about. I'm like, it's weird because as I get older, I actually half-ass appreciate LeBron a little bit more. It's just like this and that. And then I'm like, wow, 11 finals. And well, he didn't include last year. Now it's 18, but up to last year, 11 finals in 17 years in the league. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's pretty good.
That's more than Brady's. I mean, when you think about it, Brady was one every other year, basically, because he was 10 and 20. So,
and even like and I think the argument's stupid because I've never understood that argument where they hold LeBron losing multiple times in the finals against players. But like Michael lost in the first round 3 times. But it's like, oh no, he just lost in the first round. He was building his way up there. I don't understand where finals losses became more important than first round losses. Because to me, I think losing in the finals, if I had to pick which one was a worse loss, I would say the loss in the first round, because it's like, no, you're done. You didn't even give yourself a hope in hell. You didn't even get 4 of the 16 games you need to win a championship. At least when you You get to the finals, well, shit, you got at least 12 of the 16, sometimes 14 or 15, and then you lost in a game 7. To me, the losses early mean more because you didn't even have a chance. You didn't even make it a quarter of the way there. So I've never understood propping up. Because, like, Michael lost 3 times in the first round. I know that. And nobody bats an eye. But suddenly LeBron loses 1 in his 18th year in the league when his second best player hurt his ankle, LeBron's on a bum ankle. AD hurt his groin, could barely walk, and the rest of the team's drizzling shits. And they lost to a team with a Hall of Famer, a perennial all-star, and had the second best record in the West. But yeah, this tarnishes his record. I don't get that.
I think the reason why, and I'm gonna take the devil's advocate on here, but I think the reason why his losses in the finals are taking such a high precedent when it comes to comparing to Jordan, especially, is because he's faced no competition to get to the finals. The Eastern Conference, which is where he was at for most of his career until he went to LA, there was nobody to stop him to get to the finals. When Jordan played, there were plenty of teams to stop him from getting to the finals.
I agree with you, and then play devil's advocate on that. You can say the same thing about all the teams Jordan beat in the finals. All the Western Conference teams, for the most part, weren't very good. So
I'm not going to argue that, but he still had a tougher challenge to get there. And see, that's why their careers parallel each other so much for me, because Michael had the hard time getting there because the East was so much better than the West when he played, and then the West team was kind of meh. But LeBron, the East was drizzling shits, and then by the time he got to the finals, the West was so much better than the East. It was just harder teams. So it's 6-1, half dozen the other, because either way, one of them had an easier path to get there and then ran into the roadblock, and the other one had the roadblock to get there and then ran into the easier team when they get there. Because the Jazz teams that he beat in 97 and 98 were good teams, but they were nothing special. Even they were good teams, but they weren't great teams. The Seattle team with a young Kemp and Peyton. Who the hell else did Michael beat in the finals? He beat Phoenix. He beat the Lakers with Magic,
an old Magic.
Right.
And he beat
I think they were without Kareem too.
Yeah, he beat the Lakers, Utah twice, Seattle, Phoenix, and I'm missing one.
I am too. I'm trying to think. Maybe somebody in the chat will know. I don't remember who the fifth team was. But no, it's. The other thing that people don't understand when you're comparing these different eras is the difference when it came to defense. I mean, first off, Jordan wasn't even near the size of LeBron either. Jordan was like 6'3", 6'4".
He's 6'6".
Okay, well, but he was like 215, 225, give or take. LeBron 6'8", 260.
I didn't want to say because I didn't want to look like an idiot, but it was the Blazers. That's the one that popped in my head.
I knew TSS.
Thanks, TSS.
But it was, they bashed Jordan. I mean, they beat him as much as they could during these games, especially in the playoffs. You couldn't touch LeBron today. You breathed on him and you got a penalty. So
see, I'd like to say that, but if you actually watch the games that he plays in, when he goes to the hole, it's one of these weird things. It's people that don't like LeBron and don't watch the games say, "Oh, you can't breathe on him." They call a foul. But
that's great.
Then the people that actually you'll watch the game, and since he's so big and strong, he'll just get hammered going to the hole, and they don't call anything because it's basically like, "Oh, that can't really hurt him. He's built like a fucking Greek god." It's like, because I'll watch it too, and even in my peak of LeBron hatred, like 6 or 7 years ago, I just watch him get swatted. I'm like, that's not a foul.
No, but come on. I mean, obviously they got to somehow give him something because he gets all the other ones when they don't touch him.
Yeah, it's just.
I said it in my video. We were lucky that it was Kyrie getting hit with the water bottle, because had it been LeBron, he probably would have went to the floor, acted like he was passed out, and then said he claimed he had a concussion for 3 days, and they would have had to take that fan and put him in the electric chair.
Well, and that was like when they were playing it's the shit that LeBron says. Like, he makes it so he's almost unlikable, because as a player, as an actual basketball player, there's not much to not like. He's a great.
Other than the flopping, I'm great. You know,
Yeah.
other
That's
than
why I said I don't
yeah.
like that shit. As an actual basketball player, there's not much to not like. Shoots the ball well. He's built like a brick shit house. He's an unbelievable passer. Basketball IQ's off the charts. But it's just the other shit. And then he says stuff like when they beat Golden State in the play-in game, and he got poked in the eye pretty good. Like, I'm not gonna hold him again. I've been poked in the eye. It's fucking hard to see. Like, you can't really fake. You can see it's like gets a finger right in the eye. Yeah. But then it's like, okay, and he hits a big shot, and then he has to sit. It's like, okay, that was awesome. I appreciate that. And he goes, well, that was a pretty good shot. Well, it was mostly luck. I saw 3 rims, and I shot for the middle one. No, you didn't. You didn't see 3 rims. That's the likeliness of triple vision. That's bullshit. You didn't need to say that, because it's bullshit. And he says stuff like that, and then people are suddenly like, I can fucking look at this jag off. But
this also, and really the biggest story about this was the fact that he walked away without shaking hands of the of the team that knocked him out, Phoenix.
I didn't think that was a big of a deal as everyone's making it.
I think it is. I mean, that was back in the old days. Yeah, that was the thing. The Pistons, they did it. They walked away without shaking the Bulls' hand when they finally got beat. But over the last several years, decades, it's changed to where you give that customary handshake after the game. Good game,
And from what I heard, he shook hands with all the Suns guys after the game anyway. That's why it's poor taste for me, but I'm not going to rake someone over the coals because they're going to not shake hands. Like, he got taken over the coals in Game 5 when they lost in Phoenix, but it turned out after that, like after they lost, and it didn't end the series, some guys shake hands. That's why I was like, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's only Game 5. People don't always shake hands, but he went sprinting off. I was like, where the fuck's he going? He had to take a deuce. Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit, when you got to shit, you got to shit. I'm not going to hold some. But yeah, like I didn't like it per se that he didn't shake hands, but I didn't think it was the fucking end of the world. I mean, I love in hockey when they when they do the handshake line at the end of the series. I like it, but
same in baseball and even in football, they go out and do handshakes and hugs and whatever.
Oh, not always. Some you see every once in a while in a football game, you'll see the player take off back down the tunnel, but
very rarely. But yeah,
like I said on Twitter, I'm like, show me a classful loser, and I'll show you a loser. Like I don't really fucking care that some people lose with class.
I think it goes to the old saying of treat people the way you want to be treated.
Well, and I also think LeBron could really give a shit. No, he actually kind of does care what people think about him.
He does. Yeah, he does.
I don't know, for any of those of you watching there in the chat, if you got a topic that you want us to discuss, just let us know, because we don't have any of the fancy dominations. Oh, here we go. We got TSS2. Definitely check him out. He does great montage videos in and throughout this so-called, I'm not using that word. I hate using the C word. I think it's stupid.
You mean community?
Community.
Let's see. What does he say? My only problem with LeBron is that this applies to most players in the league. When they don't get a call, they whine and bitch to the ref so much like they're going to get every call.
That's like you said, though, TSS, that's any athlete in pretty much every sport is always complaining about everything. That's just athletes. Like when I was a hockey referee for a while, I did some basketball, I umpired baseball, and I like using the expression 100% of the time, you're wrong 50% of the time. Because it doesn't matter what you say, you're pretty much pissed off 50% of the people watch and think you're freaking wrong.
Well, it's funny, you win in baseball. That's a little segue. I like that. I was listening to the game the other night, and it was the Cardinals and the Dodgers. This was out in LA. I want to say it was Tuesday night. Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember. It was the night we got slaughtered 14-3. It was ridiculous. You know, you're facing a great pitcher in Buehler, and he's getting all the strike calls. But our pitcher, Martinez, is getting none. It's like he gets a postage stamp strike zone while Buehler gets this strike zone. It's like, seriously? And even, I mean, I'm listening to national broadcasts because I want to, when I first hear my broadcast and they're complaining about it, then I go to national so I can hear the difference, see if they're saying something about it. And even they're like, yeah, it seems like, you know, the Dodgers are getting those low pitches called strike while the Cardinals are not. I'm like, yeah, that, you know, this is why we want robot umps, you know, because we want the calls correctly.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's a crazy thing. The strike zone is literally the strike zone. That's what drives me nuts when it's like, well, you know, like some umpires when I was coming up with teaching, oh, you can give them one ball on the outside or half a ball on the outside. I'm like, well, no, that's not in the strike zone. The strike zone is clearly defined. And I don't like how you watch the broadcast and they're like, oh, everybody knows Joe Westlake is a pitcher's umpire or he'll give him the pitch on the inside. Well, no, there shouldn't be a pitcher's umpire. There's literally the strike zone. That's
Right.
what it is. It doesn't matter. The strike zone is not a judgment call. That's why you're not allowed to argue it.
And I'm not saying get rid of the guy behind home plate. You know, you can do this all computerized and just basically have an earpiece in his ear to say, it's a strike, call it. And he goes, strike, you know, so he could still be animated and all that shit. Yeah, it might be a little bit delayed, but so fucking what? At least it'll be right.
Yeah, and you still need him there to call safe and out. And that's the thing with baseball anyway. They can't even get it right with the computer stuff. There's been a few calls this year where they've replayed, and it's like, oh, that guy's clearly safe. And then they're like, oh, replay, he's out. What? But anything, and we mentioned this on Drew's show, for me, anything we can do to get Angel Hernandez less control on a baseball field, I am 100% for.
He needs. I don't know how he has a job. I really don't.
The union is so strong for the baseball umpires.
Something. He's blowing somebody good.
But yeah, like balls and strikes are so. They're the crux of the game, and if we can't even get that right, and sometimes, and shout out to John Boy Media because I love watching. I don't know if you watch John Boy, but he does. He's on YouTube and he does. Frank will probably watch him, but he'll do like highlights from baseball in the last week, like blown calls or funny shit, and he reviews them, and it's pretty funny. But I don't understand why some people are so vehemently against like the robot strike zone or getting the calls right. I don't get it. Well, it's part of the history, you know. No, I don't like looking back at moments in history and being like, oh, they got that call wrong.
Yeah, like the 85 series.
The 2000 Stanley Cup, when and as stupid as the rule was at the time, the rule at the time was if you had 1 foot, if you were in the crease and you scored, it was no goal. It was an absolutely ludicrous, stupid rule anyway. I mean, so what if you have a foot in the crease and you didn't touch the goalie? What should it matter? But Brett Hall clearly had a foot in the crease in overtime in Game 6 against Buffalo, and he put it in the net. And by rule at the time, as dumb as the rule was, that goal shouldn't have counted. But do you think anybody in the NHL had the pair to wave that goal off? Not a fucking chance. But
well, obviously, they got the call wrong in Nashville with the Predators and the Penguins in the championship. When the guy looked from the ref blew the whistle because he couldn't see the puck, but they scored a goal during the process and the goal was taken away.
See,
I know it's a difficult call.
That one's really tough because the puck's moving, it's live action, and if you can't see it, you can't see it, and the ref's got to see the puck at all times. That one I don't hold so much. Oh, Chris, I'll have to watch that. I was actually literally just watching Back to the Future tonight for the 175th time. Back to the Future 3 sucks. You can't change my mind. But with I just want people to get the call right. That's all I want. I don't. And as an official, generally most officials, I know me when I was one, I didn't want the confrontation. I wanted to get the call right. You think most umpires want to go out there, get the shit wrong? Now, maybe the egomaniacs in Major League Baseball, that's a whole different story.
Right.
But me, as little old me, umpiring baseball in Southern Alberta, I umpired at a collegiate level. But it's nothing to write home or not bragging or anything, but it's half decent. But no, I wanted to get the call right. There's some way I could have got some. And there's been times where it's like, they know that you absolutely fucking blow a call and you're just like, ugh. Now, the worst thing, this drives me nuts, makeup calls.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a make. I hear that in baseball a lot.
Oh, I hate makeup calls because it's like not only now you didn't make it up. Now you got it wrong twice.
Right.
It's like in hockey. Drives me nuts in hockey how if you ever watch the NHL, and they actually got nailed for this year because a guy mentioned it. Oh, it was a little nothing. He got caught on a hot mic. It wasn't much, but I wanted to give him one early to even it up. Oh, I'm sorry, but it drives me nuts if I watch a hockey game and I just check the box score and I'm like, oh, this team had 4 penalties and this team had 4 penalties. I'm like, to me, that's stupid. How is that possible that consistently happens? Because in the real world, there could be a game where one team gets 8 power plays and the other team doesn't get any.
Well, I mean, they talk about that in the NFL a lot when you're watching a game. And it's like, it just seems like they're penalizing one team over the other way too much in the first half. And then in the second half, they reverse it. It's like, we had almost like, you're like, well, they're making it even now? I mean, and a lot of them were very ticky-tack at best. Of course, they try to put a rule in to fix the pass interference problem, and the refs say, fuck that. We're not overturning any of them.
Yeah, I know. Like it, but I still, was it against the 49ers?
What?
That Saints just brutal pass interference. No, that wasn't the 49ers.
No, it was Rams. It was
the Rams.
NFC Championship game a couple of years back.
If that's not pass interference, I don't know what is.
Right.
Like,
and there's a guy right there. How he doesn't throw his flag, I'll never know. And that cost him the game. I've heard people say, "Oh, well, they had a chance in overtime." No, forget it.
Game doesn't go to overtime.
It doesn't. Right. It's over. It doesn't go to overtime. That's what people don't understand. They can chew up the rest of the clock, kick the game-winning field goal, and they never go to overtime. But now,
like we've had, like up here in the CFL, you can challenge a ton of stuff, way more stuff than you can, like unnecessary roughness penalties. You are not hold. You can challenge a boatload more stuff than you can, and even pass interference. And it hasn't slowed the game down much, and they get it right. It's not this clear and decisive over the top. It's like the guy. Actually, the referee on field doesn't have much control at all. It all comes from a centralized location, and they're basically like, okay, here we go. Oh, yeah, he got his hand on him. He's a little early. Yeah, that's pass interference. Or they look at it and say, yeah, no, he actually didn't touch him. That's not pass interference. Pick up the flag. Done.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You talk about your favorite is it's a makeup call. No, my worst one is they're letting them play. You hear it all the time in the NFL. Throughout the entire season, they're calling these plays right and left. They get to the playoffs. It's like, oh, look, the refs are just letting them play. Wait, you mean they're letting them get away with the rules? I mean,
yeah, it's the same thing in hockey. Oh, this is playoff hockey, playoff rules.
Right.
I don't remember seeing 2 rule books for hockey. I remember seeing the rules of hockey. I don't remember seeing the rules of hockey and the rules of playoff hockey. Like literally, this is how stupid hockey is sometimes. Okay, I shouldn't say this because hockey is a great game. This is how stupid the NHL is. If I cross-checked J-man in the face, and for those of you who don't know what hockey is, if I take my stick here and I hold it like this and I jam him in the face while the play's going on, that's 2 minutes, cross-checking. Now, if J-man's goalie covers up the puck, and now the whistle's blowing and the play's dead, and I skate on over to you and I drill you in the face with a stick, oh, yeah, that's not a penalty.
Yeah.
Like, what? Wait, what? Like,
I'm screaming bloody murder, damn it.
Like I've I listened to a Leafs podcaster, and he's had some new Canadians kind of stumbled upon him somehow, and they've asked him. He said to explain hockey, and he goes, "I can't." I they're like they've watched a game with them and go, "Well, I feel like you shouldn't be able to do that." And it's just like, no, you're not allowed to. Well, why didn't they do it? Because, yeah.
Well, it's like they talk about it in the Super Bowl a lot. Holding, actually, if you listen to some of the football podcasts they do on Sirius, they talk about how you would call hold on every single play in the NFL. That's a given. And they call it like crazy during the regular season. But then it dwindles down in the playoffs. 2 years ago, when the 49ers and the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl, they didn't call one single holding penalty against either team. And if you go back and watch the replay of it, there are plenty of times they should have called holding. It's like, nobody wants the ref to decide the game. That's the narrative. But shouldn't they still call what should be called? I mean, yeah, they're kind of helping the outcome a little bit, but if there's a foul, do you need to call it?
Yeah, exactly. If you're not, then what the hell are you doing out there? And what teams would I recommend for this season for which sport, Chris? If it's hockey, I say the Seattle Kraken. They're a brand new team, new to the league. Nobody will give you shit for cheering for them.
Oh, this is the second edition after the Las Vegas.
Yeah, they're expanded again. Because, when we expanded to Vegas, then the league had 31 teams. So you kind of knew it was inevitable that there would be But
so now that they're 32, are they going to go to like a similar format to the football where they're going to have smaller divisions and 8 of them?
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. Yeah, Kraken should be fun, even though I don't necessarily agree with the name of the arena, but I digress. I believe it's called the Climate Change Arena or the Climate Change Pledge Arena. I was like, what happened to the Key Arena? That's what it was called when the Supersonic. And that was another reason I might I chose Seattle as I was a Supersonics fan, and then they moved the Climate Pledge Arena, sorry. But I'm like, well, if the Supersonics ever come back, I will 100% be a Supersonics fan. When they left, I said, I couldn't do it. When my Expos moved to Washington, I'm like, okay, I'll stick loyal, even though they're switching cities. I'll stay with them. But when the Supersonics moved, I'm like, I'm not doing this shit again. Oklahoma City Thunder. Nobody likes Oklahoma. Even Oklahoma Minions or whatever the hell they're called don't even like Oklahoma.
Okay.
So no, screw Oklahoma. They took the Supersonics.
They didn't take the Supersonics. The Supersonics moved there, and they were happily accepted them. Let's be honest.
Wow.
It's just like the Colts left Baltimore to go to Indianapolis. The Browns left Cleveland to go to Baltimore, become the Ravens. The Oilers left Houston to go to Tennessee, become Titans. I mean, they left. They didn't. The other place didn't steal that team.
They stole them.
Of course, it would have been nice if the Penguins actually would have taken Kansas City on their offer and moved here when they were looking for a new arena, when they were trying to get out of the igloo.
Old Mellon Arena.
Because I would have been great. I finally would have had a team that was hometown to root for that I already was rooting for. Damn it. And our first Cup win in 2009 would have been the first season here in Kansas City. It would have been great for the city.
Yeah, would have had Sid and all them. But, ifs and nuts or candy and butts or whatever the hell that expression is.
Right.
But, yeah, what else did we cover? And yeah, TSS, that is my favorite thing too, how he sued the MLB for discrimination and the judge threw that out because it was basically like, no, they're not discriminating. You're not getting World Series games because you're a shitty umpire.
Right.
That's why you're not working the World Series.
I get that he can't lose his job, but why is he still even a crew chief though?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, you can't put him just on somebody else's staff and let that person actually deal with it.
Can you just make him the guy that, you know what? You can give Angel World Series games, playoff games. Just make him the guy up and down the lines and left and right field calling fair foul ball.
I think he'd still screw that up and cost
Yeah,
the
that's
team
true.
the championship. Come on.
Where there's a will, Angel will find a way.
I'm telling you. He actually called a home run called a ball not a home run. And he didn't overturn it with the replay, even though it clearly showed it was a fucking home run. He said ground rule double. And I'm like, everybody in the stands watching, everybody watching the review on TV, it's clearly over the fence, because what happened was it went over the fence, hit like a metal railing, and came back into the field of play. So he called it a ground rule double off the jump. And then, of course, with the review, it showed it cleared the wall. It's a home run. He said, nope, ground rule double. I'm like, what? You can't even get the call right when you're, watching it or when you're getting replay.
Yeah, and funny you should ask that, Chris, because that'll get us into our final topic of the evening. The big fight, where
Logan?
the hell are they? Miami. They're in Miami. I was trying to think of a fight thing for Miami. Although I am looking forward to Ocho Cinco fighting. I think he's on the undercard. Chad Johnson. I don't know who the hell.
Really?
But who the hell? Oh, no, sorry. He's Johnson again.
Yeah, he's back to Johnson again.
So, this is just a fucking publicity stunt and a half. God bless Floyd. He's probably going to make a boatload of money, but who cares? They're fighting 8 3-minute rounds. I'll tell you who's not going to win, the fans. They're fighting 8 3-minute rounds. They're using 12-ounce gloves. Knockouts are allowed.
Except it'll go to a decision, and
the Paul kid's allowed to weigh in at 190 pounds, and Floyd's going to be fighting at like 145. Like, this is just ridiculous.
Right?
The visual is going to be so stupid in the ring. You're going to have this big friggin' white guy and this little black dude that we all know if the fight was ever real, even at 44 years old or 42 or however the hell old Floyd is now, he would pick him to pieces.
Yeah, I have no doubt. This is going to be a worse train wreck than the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight was, and honestly, that was a setup as well. He carried that man for as long as he could, Mayweather, because there was no way McGregor was going that deep in the game. He should never have made that. That was all about the money. Come pay us to watch.
I've always said Floyd himself didn't directly do it, but before the fight happened, Floyd was looking through the betting odds and seeing, the 7th round, that's the best betting odds. Okay, I'm going to give it to my buddy here. Here's 20 million or whatever $1 million. Go put this on me dropping Mayweather in the 7th round.
McGregor, yeah.
Or McGregor in the 7th round. Because I know people hate Floyd, and it'll be fun. I do want to announce we are going to have in the next couple weeks a guest on the show, former professional boxer and Tabor hero, my hometown. Joe Mills will be joining us to talk state of boxing and all things celebrity. I'm really curious, and I don't know where J-man stands, but I'm curious to get the thoughts of an actual former professional boxer who, did this for a living, how he feels about these celebrities just getting in, and if he thinks it's actually good or bad for boxing, because you and I could give our opinions one way or another, but he did it for a living and now he's a coach.
Yeah, I definitely think it's bad for boxing, but whatever. Boxing died for me when Tyson lost the championship.
I can see why people don't like that, but I feel like it's when it comes to Floyd Mayweather, it's like the casual boxing fans just shit all over this guy, and then the people that actually watch boxing religiously or know a lot about boxing, and I think maybe it has a lot to do with his personality and the era he's in, because Floyd Mayweather can maybe not fight, but
he can run with the best of them.
He can box. He is
problem.
He's a computer. His fights are boring, and that's why people don't like him. They're extremely boring, but
because he runs the whole time.
He's a computer. He sits there. All his fights are the same. He sits there for 3 or 4 rounds and just dips and dodges and just reads what you're going to do. And then by the 5th or 6th round, when he figures out your tendencies and everything, he goes to work. And generally from there, he puts on a clinic. He puts on an absolute clinic. And another reason I think people don't like him is people, especially in boxing, are enamored with heavyweight fighters. They like the big, strong guys. They're not huge on the little guys. And I mean, that's not always true because people liked Roberto Duran and people liked Sugar Ray Leonard and they liked smaller fighters. But generally, the casual boxing fan is like, no, we want to see those big fuckers in there just beating the hell out of each other. And that's not what Floyd does. He knocked out a lot of guys early in his career, but
okay, let's be honest. We were talking legacy on LeBron. What's Mayweather's legacy if he actually gets knocked out from Logan Paul? I know it's an exhibition, but and the guy's 50 pounds heavier, but
I think he's the greatest fighter ever or greatest boxer ever, so it totally tarnishes that.
I think this would be a huge upset. That's why I said I don't think it's even going to matter. I think this is going to be just like that Tyson fight. What was it? Tyson and who was the guy he fought recently?
Roy Jones.
That was a joke.
That was a shit show.
They purposely played the whole fans just to go the whole distance for nothing. It was
after watching that, because Roy Jones is one of my favorite fighters ever. I mean, you don't win a championship at 4 different weight classes as a bum. But watching that fight, I'm like, Lord Jesus, if this thing was, to quote wrestling, a shoot, Mike Tyson might have knocked fucking Roy's head into the 5th row. Tyson was in shape. Roy was not in shape.
Right. But this Mayweather Logan Paul fight, I guarantee you, goes the distance, and it goes to decision, and Mayweather wins in decision. Because what Mayweather's going to do? He's going to dance and jive the whole time, maybe throwing a jab here and there. But
see, I don't know if Drew's agreeing with me or not, but that's what I like about Floyd. Here he says, don't need to knock him out. It's supposed to be a chess match, not a mauling. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And that's why a lot of people don't like Floyd, because our natural instinct when we watch two people in combat is you want to see the other person beat the piss out of each other.
Knock him the fuck out.
And that's not what Floyd does. That's why I say Floyd's not a great fighter. Floyd's a great boxer, because there's a difference between sheer brute strength and fighting and beating the hell out of each other. And even Ali with the rope-a-dope and the ducking, that wasn't fighting, that was boxing.
It was still more entertaining.
Oh, it was way more entertaining. But as a human, I much prefer the way Floyd fights rather than the way Ali fighted, which was get your brain pounded in till the other guy tires out and then go to work. Floyd decides, I'm just going to dodge and let you throw punches and tire yourself out and save my brain. So they're both doing the same defensive style fighting. They just went about it different ways.
How was it the 5 Ds of dodgeball? Dip, duck, dive, dodge, whatever.
Dip, dive, dip, dive, duck, and dodge, dip, dive, duck, and dodge. I think, or whatever the hell it is.
Like that. Like that's pretty much what he does in boxing.
And by the way, for those of you wondering, if you've never watched Dodgeball, go out of your way to watch that movie. That movie's I think that movie's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
When Vince Vaughn again delivers one of my favorite lines in a movie when they after their coach gets crushed by the sign, and he's like, they're just sitting there devastated, and he's like, they don't know what to say, and he's like, yeah, and I don't think Hallmark makes I'm sorry your dodgeball got crushed by 2 tons of irony card, because he gets crushed by that luck of the Irish sign that falls on him.
Yeah. Hey, how else am I going to be able to spend this buried treasure? Gar Steve.
Or the whole time the guy's dressed up as the pirate and he's like, I don't know. And then he comes out not dressed. Hey, look, it's Steve the pirate. Oh, yeah, that was a great movie. And we are almost out of time, folks. It's been 1 hour. So make sure, and if you could really support us, like, again, if you're watching on J-Man's channel, make sure you head on over to CrunchTime Sports and look for the one that has this logo here, because this is our channel. This one right up here in the corner. And give us a like, and vice versa. Hit the like button, stick it up J-Man's ass, twiddle my balls by hitting the bell so you know when we go live. Tell all your friends about it. And you got anything else? Got any idea what you're going to be ranting on this week?
Oh, they come when I find it's inspirational, whenever something happens, boom, let's knock it off.
Make sure you tune in tomorrow for a pre-recorded version of Derailed that we recorded
A month ago?
Yeah, give or take.
Something like that.
And then we'll be back next week. Probably not on Saturday. We'll have to see. I got a stag to go to, so there might be that. But next week on Derailed, we're talking about OJ, so that'll be fun. And yeah, if you guys want the DM, or here, what's the actual Twitter for the show? I have the DMs open, so if you have any sports stories you want covered, just follow the show and send them to us. We're CrunchTime Sport. So search CrunchTime Sports, but it's at CrunchTime SPOR2. Again, that's the only thing I could get relatively close because apparently a lot of people like CrunchTime Sports. And yeah, so send us that. The DMs are open if you have any stories you want covered. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Drew. Everybody else, Casey, everybody that checked in. I don't know if you've got nothing else, J-man.
No, I'm good. No, I think this has been a fun show. I'm looking forward to the future ones.
And I am looking forward to it as well. And again, thanks you guys. And in the meantime and in the between time, we'll catch you next time in Crunch Time.